Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode number 3 of Grandstand Gossip. My name is Paul Jeffrey. Alongside me, I am delighted once again to welcome Ashley Gregory. And Ashley, this chap is our new guest. Would you like to do the duties of introducing?
Welcome, Jordan. Go on, let's start off with talking a little bit about your racing career, and how you've got to where you are now.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jordan Albert. Grew up in Silverstone Village, right next to the track. Walking distance, just helps. And yeah, I've been a driver for about 14 years now. So started when I was 15, rental karting like we all get into, and got into F4 luckily with some support from my family. And went through the ranks in GTs, became a coach for a full-time job back then, and progressed into also stunt driving as well, and other GT racing. So yeah.
So presumably you started in GT racing then. If so, why?
Actually, it was F4. So I actually started quite late when I was 15, which doesn't sound old, but it is in racing, unfortunately. But I did rental karting at Daytona and Milton Keynes. And what happened there was I wanted to go into like professional level go-karting, but actually I was a bit late to the show. So people said, don't bother, you're going to get eaten up alive. So I was like, cheers, thanks for the advice. And then we actually took the leap and bought an F4 car, stupid financial decision. And then we entered actually at British F4 and did that for a couple of years, which was really hard, really, really tough. But, and then did GTs after that when I realized F1 was like a really difficult sort of goal to make.
Yeah, that is a pretty crazy transition, to be honest with you. So yeah, talk us through the GT racing then. What is it like compared to the single seaters? Because obviously you're in an open face sort of, you're out in the world, and then you get in a GT car, and all of a sudden you've got a roof above your head. And
yeah, so I found it actually quite funny because in single seaters, not many people have been able to do single seaters. It's quite tough to be able to fund, but it feels like the world evolves around you. So like, it sounds silly, but you become really kind of like, you feel like just the center of attention all the time. So, because you've got this one car, you're going for a championship and stuff. So all the mechanics, engineers, it doesn't feel like you're working as a team so much as a junior. And then what I realized going into GTs was no one cares about like what you've done before. It's more of a team effort. So gone were the days where like the focus would be on like, how do we make Jordan quicker? How do we make Jordan faster? Like, and instead it was like just giving me shit all the time if I, if I messed up the pit stop or whatever. But it's a really cool world. Like GTs, it's very much the level is still incredibly high. Some of the toughest races I've ever had are in GTs. Gets hot in the car, so you can't just open your helmet and you cool off. But yeah, it's like much more of a team effort in GTs, I would say. Not necessarily comparing to like junior single seaters. Yeah.
wow.
Does that take a long time to reprogram your mentality then, Jordan, to work, I suppose it's fair to say, with significantly more compromises than perhaps you've been used to in your career to that point?
Yeah, so for me, mindset is everything in racing, because what you find is, and especially like with our route going into racing and I explained how I didn't do loads of karting, you have to make like every single lap count. Like it's such a privilege to be able to drive around on a racetrack that not many people are able to do yet. And just like taking all the information possible, whatever car it's in, doesn't matter. And then what's really important is how you structure your driving. So you can't just go out, expect to be fast. You have to review it, structure it, and then go again. But yeah, the mentality between, that being young Jordan, you have to kind of grow into an adult in GTs. That was the biggest thing I found, for sure.
And what are the other sort of things you need to factor in? Obviously gym. I assume that's a big.
Yeah, I used to be a lot skinnier than I am now.
Welcome to my world.
But yeah, I remember even going to lengths where not having anything but water for an entire winter. So like it's not just so it's gym, like you said, you have to be really strict with every day looking after your body, so cardio, strength. Like you think in a GT, and I'm not sure what it's like in the Mini, but you have to hit the pedal really hard, like the brake pedal, like serious force, lap after lap after lap. That goes through your entire back, you know? It's not easy. So lots of leg presses, things like that. So yeah, physical work, but also, diet, like just drinking water all the time, lots of vegetables, really boring. I remember seeing George Russell once when I was in F4. It sounds like really, really boring, but he was eating just a plain plate of pasta.
I'll rate that.
No no sauce, no tomato sauce, nothing, no seasoning, like just pasta on its own.
It's gorgeous. I eat that.
Like for me, I like my hot sauce. I like,
Opinions expressed in this podcast are each to their own.
So, yeah, that you just have to look up. You have to look after your body, 100%. Especially when you're being thrown around 150 mile an hour in a car.
Do you find that hard to keep motivated, the long hours at the gym?
Yeah, it's not easy. Like people don't typically want to train all the time. Like it's not a thing. I think when you're reaching to a certain goal, like you go through it. I think it requires a lot more discipline if you don't have that thing to aim towards. You know what I mean? It's pretty tough. I find that now, actually, not having raced this year. But you just, as long as you plan like properly, like what you're doing, like you schedule, right, this time I'm going to hit the gym, and you have to like be you have to really be accountable to yourself. Otherwise, you just don't get fitter.
So how do you balance that between sort of everyday life? Because obviously it can't just be all race driving, or is it just pure racing and that's it?
Yeah, actually, so the thing with racing is it's such a unique sport where you can't actually just do that. You can't just go in the gym. You can't just hop in the car. Like you have to do everything else. We have to get sponsors. We have to, make sure that our social media presence to attract sponsors, especially now, like something I didn't really do. I wish I did. But so it's difficult to get this balance as a driver. It's like, my friend Gus, like he's now raising money to do Porsche Super Cup next year. And it's like late nights, traveling to Scotland to do a pitch for a sponsor. Like you feel tired. So you have to really get good sleep and stuff. Sounds boring, but you just have to really look after your body.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. It's not for everyone, honestly. Like
not for the faint-hearted.
It's tough. It's actually really tough. Like making a career as a driver is it's tough.
On that subject, then, a lot of our audience will know what it's like going to an office 9-5 Monday to Friday. What does a day look like away from a racetrack then for a race driver such as yourself?
Yeah, a lot of drivers sleep in a lot. It's like a lot of drivers are actually lazy when it comes to like getting up. Yeah, a lot of teenagers just like kind of lazy in the mornings. But a typical day, let's say, my life's different now, but say you're going for a career as a driver, you would wake up, typically get the gym out the way, and then kind of that energizes your day, and then you're straight on the laptop, calling sponsors, organising meetings, and then sim training in the afternoon or evening. That's sort of typically what you would do as a driver. Yeah,
literally a full-time commitment then.
It is full-time. Yeah. So it's not a normal job. And it's difficult to make money like early days. So what you typically do is, as a driver, you get into driver coaching to earn some money as well, just to keep going. And also driver coach is really good to improve your own driving as well, because you sometimes go in a car and actually a big part of teaching can actually teach you a lot, if that makes sense, like with other drivers.
How so? What's the biggest element that teaches you?
I would say, for example, let's say you're sat next to someone coaching. You're coaching someone, you're sat next to the car, and you ask them to maybe try a certain gear or a certain line. You can also feel that firsthand in the car. So you can actually not experiment with the person you're coaching, but you understand what works on as a normal sort of, on average, if a driver's training in a certain way, does that work? If it does, then you can apply it to yourself. That makes
So basically
sense.
using them as a guinea pig.
Kind of. That sounds like really bad, but yeah, but you know, it's almost like data in a way. Like the more data you have, the more you know.
It kind of like deconstructing your driving and giving you a bit of headspace to maybe step back from the day to day and think about the logistics of the task on hand.
Absolutely. You also find, as drivers, you meet new people also through coaching. When I got my first job when I was 18, I was a full-time coach at a driving facility at Silverstone, and half of my racing opportunities came from there.
Wow.
Like I got my first McLaren contract there. I took my sponsors there sometimes. So like if you're actually meeting the right people, performing in front of the right people, you can actually gain opportunities, sort of thing.
That's impressive. And then, so talk me through the data side. Obviously, GT racing, it's long racing, so obviously you got a lot of data to go through. You've got probably 2-3 drivers sharing a car. How do you prepare for a race? Obviously, you got to factor in the pit stops, when you're going to fuel, when you're going to change tyres. How does that impact you as a driver, and how do you manage that?
Yeah, good question. So data's you have to use it in the right way, and typically data tools in the real world and also virtual world, you can have an engineer that will say you need to do this, like you're losing time here and here and here. But okay, great, but how do I do it? Why am I not braking that late? So if a driver's, for example, let's say you're braking early for a corner, you always have to figure out why is that happening. Mm-hmm. Is it because like I'm scared sometimes, or is it because my vision isn't good, so I'm not looking where I need to go? Is it that the brake pads are just not feeling great? So you have to really every opportunity, you have to dissect like why it's happening so you can actually progress. So the most important thing with using data is when you do a session, you have to typically pick maybe like the top 3 opportunities you can actually progress in, because you can't, like our brains, we can't compute trying to, like if we hopped on the sim and Mike said, oh, you need to improve every single corner, it's not going to work. We can't, we don't have that brain capacity. So it's more about, okay, these are the biggest opportunities, let's focus on that, great, done that, then now the next opportunity sort of thing, yeah.
But just to elaborate on that point that Ashley made about the data, for the benefit of folks watching and listening at home, that data's a very big word, it means a lot. What is data? What is the data that you're looking at, your key your key variables?
Yeah, I'll explain. So when you drive a car, even on the road, you're operating obviously the steering wheel, brake, throttle, clutch, and also gears if it's manual. So every single minute input that you have, telemetry can actually be extracted to see how you're using those instruments. And how you can learn to progress is you compare your traces over a course of a lap to a faster lap, say. So let's say you've got a teammate that's a little bit quicker than you. You will then be able to compare, okay, where's that teammate braking in comparison? Are they using the steering in a different way? What gear are they using at a certain corner? So you can overlay exactly what those traces will look like back to back. So that's basically what it's doing. And of course, in Formula One, they are, and other high-level motorsport championships, they're taking data to an unbelievable level where they're predicting strategy, for example, with the tyres and everything. That's like what I'm talking about is very basic level, but I mean, there's so many inputs you can extract from the car.
Ashley and I have spoken before about data in Ashley's world, which is the mini challenge, which is a solo endeavour. Sharing with other drivers, sharing. You're doing the opposite of race driver mentality. You're putting your weakness on the table and saying, everybody, look where I'm not as strong as you.
Yeah.
Does that work in reality? How comfortable or uncomfortable is that, or do you just pile together for the greater good?
So first of all, your teammate a lot of the time isn't your teammate in racing until you actually are paid. Until you're paid, your teammate's like the first person you need to beat. So I don't know. This was kind of me. I don't know. This is an ego thing, but I don't know. It feels good when you actually share a faster lap to a teammate. You know what I mean? It's like, here you go. So yeah, but honestly, you kind of everything's shared. So when you sign a contract with, let's say, a junior team, where even if you're bringing sponsorship in, like there's something in the contract that you have to share all your data anyway, and also you want to share it for the team to learn more about your driving in the car. So if they can spot something to actually both drivers are experiencing oversteer, which is basically, for those who don't know, if the rear of the car is sliding around, like a lack of grip, that's called oversteer. They can pick it up and think, okay, let's try this setting on the car. So actually, even though you're giving away some IP with your driving skills, but you're also helping the team get better. That makes sense.
So it more sounds like you're bouncing off each other, and then ultimately you both go quicker.
Exactly, yeah. You always want a fast teammate.
Yeah.
If you want to progress, and this goes for the virtual world or real world, you have to have fast teammates, because otherwise, if you don't, you can feel like you're the best in the world. And then, you need someone kind of, pushing you.
Have you ever known that you're coming to the end of a time with a team and deliberately misled your teammates, shall we say?
You see it in Formula One as well,
That's very diplomatic, how you use Formula One. I'm not answering that question. We'll move on to something we all know.
Yeah, no, the thing is, it's, not really. I mean, for me, really, no, because like every single session, unless like I actually say Formula One because they are genuinely collecting data to improve like a car for the next year that you might not be a part of. Whereas before that, you're kind of in single seaters and GTs, you're going from team to team, and like the data, like you're not developing the cars so much like they are in Formula One. So not really, just share whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah. And you mentioned a couple of times in the last couple of questions about the virtual world. How does that compare to real life for you as a GT driver?
So I've used a simulator since I started racing completely. Not at a point where it's like it is now, and we see these great sims around us. But at a time, I started using the simulator when sim racing as an industry was really tiny. But I've used the sim to prepare for real life since day one, because typically, I've been very lucky to drive in reality, but I haven't been able to do a lot of driving in reality to the point where you can not use a sim. So I've used the simulator to work on my skills for my preparation. But I'll say now, like the skills you use in the virtual world are very much basically what you use in the real car. So what you have is, you can prepare. As long as you use it in the correct way, if you're doing a real life competition, then it's an unbelievable tool.
So where's the value add? Because I assume somebody with a career like yourself, you know what a racing line is. It's not going to take you long to learn a new track. Where is the value add for someone like yourself in sim racing?
As in, you mean like how?
How does that benefet your real life stuff? I'm assuming you don't need it to learn silver stuff.
Yeah, no, sure, yeah. No, a lot of time, a lot of time it's learning a new track, but also training drills. So I won't bore you too much with loads of training, but basically, if you are just fast on one lap, that's like no good. You have to actually be fast on every lap. So typically, how you would train is, how can you get your qualifying runs amazing, but also your race runs really amazing? Prepare like pit stops. I was working with a driver that spent a whole afternoon just practicing the pit entry to a...
Man after my own heart. I do like that one. Free time to be found.
Exactly, yeah. Because like, if you think about it, coming into the pits like during a race, obviously yours is more sprint, but in GTs, like there's so much time like you can find like just practicing the pit entry. So just small things like that. But if you know the track really well, you don't have to do so much. Yeah.
If you've got to come into pit lane during the race, you're looking for someone to punch.
I was going to say,
yes, pretty much.
Puncture or something. Yeah. Hopefully, you haven't punched anyone this year.
Or at all, ideally. This year I'll do. We'll take the win when we get them.
You've just got to be cool-headed, haven't you? Well, we don't use pits, and if you do, you're probably not going back out. There's not really much point.
No,
Obviously, it's completely different in your world.
Yeah, no, it is. Like you're in a GT race, and British GT is a great example, like in the 3-hour Silverstone, Silverstone 500 it's called. I remember one time we had the worst start. Like we had a spin, went back to the grid, half a lap, and then we still finished on the podium. So if
Wow.
you like, loads of stuff happens in the race, safety cars and strategy, whatever. So
It's pretty crazy.
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, no, it's like if you think about it, in a race car, it's a pretty eventful place. You know what I mean? It's like
Yes.
it is actually a violent atmosphere. Like in a car, there's a lot going on that you've got to think about as well. Got to be so quick to decide on things.
So, Judd, if I may, I assume that we're a relatively new podcast. Majority of our audience are well versed in the world of motor racing, but we've spoken about you and GTs. We've talked about minis before with Ashley. We've spoken about different Formula cars. Can you just explain what GT racing is a little bit to our audience that maybe aren't quite so familiar with it?
Yeah, sure. So a GT car is essentially, and we'll start with GT4, which is what I've mostly done. So a GT4 car is very much about 60-70% the road car. So take a McLaren, for example. One I used was 570S GT4. A lot of the way it drives is actually straight from the traction control, throttle mapping, etc. It's like from the road car. They actually turn it down from the road car version because it would be too quick. And that you have different tires, slick tires instead of treaded. And you also have different brake discs. But a lot of the car is very much from the road. So, and then you go to GT3, which is the level up. And a GT3 car is very much like the other way around. It's like 80% race car. So it's more thoroughbred. It's got good aerodynamical kind of abilities. Like brakes are even some models. They're very much able to brake a lot later than a GT4. And GTs typically race endurance stuff. So big races, some of our audience definitely would have heard about Le Mans, the big 24 hours of Le Mans, and also World Endurance Championship. That's the series it races in. British GT is what I've done. It follows all the UK tracks. So they're big cars and not the easiest to get around, like tiny, narrow circuits like Alton Park in Cheshire. Not too far, but so hopefully that gives a bit of an idea. Yeah.
Nice, I like that. So talk us through the pairings, because obviously I've watched a little bit of GT racing before.
Yeah.
And you've got like 6-7 classes. Talk us through how they work and how do you get a good driver pairing?
Yeah, so you want to find a driver that's kind of, so you have different categories. So you've got Silver Cup, which is what I did, and you're wanting to find someone who's kind of like a similar experience to you, where you can understand each other. You've maybe just come out of single seaters or Clios or Minis, etc. Usually younger, late teens, early 20s. And then you have, so that's silver. So you've got two people that are aiming to be professional racing drivers, right? So very hungry to succeed. So when we say teammates, like it's not really teammates. Like you could be trying to get a better qualifying result than your other silver team to impress a McLaren or an Aston Martin, etc., to get on their junior program, whatever. So you're not really working together, if I'm honest. It's more of a shootout sometimes. So yeah, that's just the reality. And then you also have silver. You have pro-am. So I've done this where it's a silver and a bronze driver. So a bronze driver is typically someone like a little bit older who's pumping money into the race program, and then a lot of the time funds the other driver,
Wow.
the pro, to be in. So that's what I've done before. So that's a different dynamic, because the pro is essentially guiding the customer, the amateur, along to enjoy their time and progress up the leaderboards basically. So yeah, those are two very different dynamics. But
So for the benefit of our audience watching and listening at home, we've cut that down to it's complicated.
it is
Follow the
complicated.
link.
Sorry, I'm sorry to complicate it. I'm just
I've been in the sport for years and I still never quite fully confidently understand the driver parents. And it changes all the time as well, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It is quite complicated. I think over time, hopefully, it gets more simplified.
So obviously, you've worked and driven for some really big brands in the world GTs. That must be a very, very different experience for a manufacturer or a team that's been around for a long time than some of these smaller, more family-run organisations. What's that like?
Yeah, I'll give a contrast myself. Okay, so I've done like a year of being a privateer, like entry, not family entry because we don't know what we're doing on the mechanic side of things, but like, just small group of people with a mechanic, engineer, etc., going at it with a trailer. And then a few years later, I got a deal to sign with McLaren, and going to like Woking at MTC, down the boulevard, going past like Ayrton Senna's cars, like Lewis Hamilton's, like Lauda's, like all the iconic cars. And it's like just two different worlds. But what's interesting is you can have the same level of competitiveness on both. So you actually work with what you've got. It's just as you progress and meet more people, you gain access to more things like that. So yeah, in racing you have to always like push to what you have, and then good happens after that.
Do you feel there's a benefit with a small team? Because for me personally, I feel like if I joined a team, then I might just be a number. Whereas in a small outfit, you've got maybe 3 or 4 people around you that want to believe that you can win.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a difference?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I had that feeling once because what you're experiencing is like everyone's there. Really, it's like a support network in a way. Like when you're not having such a great day in the car, like they're there to lift you up in a way.
Yeah.
Whereas with a big team like say you're with a manufacturer, they don't care so much about your emotions in a way because they just care. Like obviously, if you're paid, like they just want you to deliver. They don't really care if you're having a bad day or not because there's people to pay. But I know what you mean. It's like the family. What we've seen actually, a lot of family-run teams have had huge success as well. We see it in touring cars and stuff. So yeah, it kind of depends, but
yeah.
And is that support net? I mean, you spoke about a support network from a team point of view, but personally, is that important for you as well to have the bubble around you and to get you, I suppose, as an athlete, to get yourself in the frame of mind where you can perform? Yeah.
You want to do your best to find people mostly you can just trust. It's huge. I know it sounds obvious, but
easier to get said than done as well.
It is hard. And I know some friend of mine, he has his sister supporting him. My sister doesn't care about racing, so I couldn't have had that. Honestly, my sister went to, I'm kind of outing her now, but she came to, I lived in Silverstone, I said. She went to, out of 10 years, 2 races.
Wow.
So but she's great. She just hates racing. Anyway, and it comes to everything. Even finding a driver coach, you want like a driver coach that is backing you, not just like saying well done all the time, but saying when you're not doing well, like come on, like you can do this, and being very honest with you. If someone's praising you all the time, that's a problem. Mm-hmm. That's not genuine. There's no way anyone's like delivering on every area. So you want people that are very, same with my business partner and friend, like just honest with what you're doing. So that's really important, that you just surround yourself with people that are very honest with you.
Love that. Love that.
Actually, we spoke earlier in the podcast a little bit about the driver coaching. And I do want to pick that one back up again because you mentioned it there and it's a good lead in. That's a very different skill set from the race driving, of course. What does that entail? What do you need to be a good driver coach? I mean, I know you've said that you use it as an opportunity to guinea pig them. Jokes, of course, jokes. But what does it take to... I don't like being a passenger, and I'm a road car driver. So as a race driver, it must be infuriating.
Yeah. So it's well, you don't always have to sit next to the driver, so you'd be okay. But the thing with every driver is different. Like if we were both on the same day, like the way someone coaches us would be just completely different, but we could end up going to the same goal. So you have to understand what everyone's goal is, and then work towards that. If you don't know what they're actually working towards, you're guiding them potentially down the wrong direction. So really, the first thing any coach has to do is understand, okay, what do we need to get to by the end of this year, and even like by the end of the week, like just set goals every week. And how someone is coached. Some people prefer to be coached just brutally honest, and almost like can take like just shit in a way, and
That's
then
me.
some, you know what I mean. Whereas some people struggle with that and want to be coached in a way where it's a little bit more soft.
Carrot and stick.
Yeah. So everyone's kind of different, and that's what I found working as a coach for like 7 years at Silverstone. It's just you've got to manage each driver a little bit differently. Yeah.
Did you buy into the coaching aspect, Ashley? Is that something you find value with as well?
Yeah, I think I've sat with a couple of drivers, predominantly a lot of junior drivers actually. So you're starting out with people who haven't really got a clue what they're doing. So for me, I haven't really picked up a lot, but it's interesting to learn how different people drive. And yeah, you do actually pick up little bits and take it.
Because they're fast, those drivers.
Some of them are.
Almost
Some of
too
them
fast.
scary.
Yeah, almost too fast if you sat next to them.
Yeah.
They almost have like no fear.
Literally,
The
absolutely
juniors.
fearless. No concept of it's raining, we need to slow down.
Yeah,
It's
no.
just like, we keep going.
No, they're.
We must be mad to sit next to them.
I know. I've never done it. But whenever I've talked to a driver that's sat next to like a junior, because they're so hungry to just be fast all the time, every single second of the day, then But you do also. I will say you have to also, as a coach, and this is when we go back to sitting next to someone for real. I actually ended up in a crash in a McLaren. So the first time I coached, sat next to someone in the first couple of weeks was actually in a McLaren 720S. Wow. For those who don't know, like that's a really quick car. It's really fast. And I was out of my depth, and we had someone, we went to Hockenheim, and this person turned up in full race kit, and that's where you're kind of a bit in trouble because, with these are supposed to be just, like the locals, right? So full race kit, boots. I'm thinking, God, I've got to sit next to this guy, and we had a big crash, turn one, because he was really stiff, so locked his arms, and I couldn't actually, move his hands.
Wow.
So we went straight into the barrier. So that was an example where sometimes you just got to say no. Like, I don't feel comfortable like sat next to this guy. And if they're driving at like just being erratic, you have every right to just say, right, we're ending this, we're coming in. Because otherwise putting people in danger.
Are you sure this is not harking back to what you were saying about experimenting? Is it, parabolic is flat out. We'll find out when we race again. No, it's not.
I mean, I learned what it's like to go hard into the barrier at turn one at Hockenheim, but
it's a lesson you learn real quick, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, actually, in our previous guest, we spoke to a guy who had a big accident and hurt himself, and we spoke a little bit about sort of allaying your fears and getting into a race car. In the minis, you're side by side all the time with people. In GTs, there's often maybe a little bit more thinking time in long race. Do those concerns, does the self-preservation, shall we say, does that creep in at flat out in the dark?
Yeah, it does. Like anyone, the thing is with racing, it's not a joke. Like it's to push on the limit at 120 miles an hour. It's not a simple task, because you do when you're pushing flat out, you're not thinking, "Oh, what if I go off," etc. But it just does happen, and you've got to drive in a certain way that you're not putting yourself at risk. and others as well. But it does happen. Sometimes you do go off. Everyone has that mistake. And you've got to really try to make sure if you're funding it, like you can cover the damage. Like that's really important. I see a lot of people get into, and we had it as well. Like it's tough financially. You got to cover yourself. Even for people that buy a track day car as well, like not just a race car. So yeah, like you have to do it sometimes in incremental steps. But I'll tell you one thing as well. If you're always cautious, sometimes it can actually be more dangerous actually, because if you're not pushing the limit of the car, you have no idea what it's going to do if it does go over the limit. So say, I'll give an example. Let's say you're always braking early at a hairpin, like a 180-degree corner. If you don't like outbrake yourself and brake too late, you're never going to know how late you can go. Mm-hmm. You need to feel the limits of the car. And so yeah, you see a lot of the F1 drivers in practice, they're going off, they're locking up, they're going wide, using the escape road. What is the car capable of doing? And then they build on top of that. So you have to push to then come back.
So presumably you can do a lot of that on the sim though as well?
Yeah. Obviously, yeah, on the sim, you can have as many offs as you want, but you don't want to treat it like that because otherwise you lose the intensity. You have to put strict rules with yourself on the simulator, like, not sure, it's definitely not legal, but having like a zapper, that will never be a thing. But you just have to set like a target, let's say, you have to set a lap time target for every lap to make sure that if you miss it, like your run looks really bad sort of thing. So yeah, on the simulator as well, you can practice also where you can brake too late, like where is it safe, where is there more runoff, and then you can actually apply that in real life as well.
And you find that genuinely the reference markers and the laser scan technology nowadays on these tracks, the bumps are where they're supposed to be, the camber's where it's supposed to be. That's genuine value.
It's getting to a really good level. I mean, if I think back when I was using the simulator when I started, it's nowhere near what it is now. And yeah, there are more companies now laser scanning, so it's just going to get better and better and closer to real life. So yeah, it's very impressive. Certain platforms are really leading in that area, sim racing platforms. But yeah, it's just going to get better overall over time.
And just again to clarify for our audience, what laser scanning means, essentially they're replicating to millimetre accuracy the surface of a racetrack in levels that it used to be artistic license back in the day, not so long ago, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So what a team will do is go to scan a track, let's say Alton Park, which is notoriously very bumpy. It's like a roller coaster, isn't it? So every single bump on that road will affect the car in a certain way. So say going over, let's say Druids, which is a fast right-hander towards the end of the circuit. At the exit, there's like a big, not a jump, but a bit of a rise. The car goes really light over that. So on a game, the physics can actually read, okay, the car's lighter, and then the rear is less stable. So laser scanning tracks can really help improve physics of not just like how the track feels, but how the car reacts.
It's impressive stuff.
Yeah, no, it's just going to get better and better. Yeah.
It's crazy. So when we talk about the sim racing side, then obviously we've talked from a personal level of you using it. Have you ever used it from a team perspective? So, joining an endurance race, I know a lot of people do like a 24-hour race. Yeah. Have you ever done that, with your teammate to prepare? Yeah,
actually, it's usually been with a few mates. I'll tell you what, when you do a 24-hour race online, you try to get some sleep, and whenever I've woken up, we've been out the race, like we're in the wall.
I know that feeling too.
Like you can't, like expecting to be still in the race after you take a nap is like really high expectations. So I actually really enjoy that. I tell you, the hardest one I've done is Le Mans Virtual, and it was with Brabham Esports, and it was hard. Like the level, you have different levels of endurance races. You have the one I was just talking about, where it's with a few friends,
Yeah.
and then and when you're paired with esports professionals, the levels that they go to of preparation, trying different setups all night till early hours in the morning to just be able to find half a tenth. It's just unbelievable. But yeah, no, they're, in terms of just in general, the 24-hour races are quite fun and entertaining with a few friends. Yeah.
Talking of setups, I've heard several racing drivers outside of this podcast tell me that they use some simulators, they shall remain nameless, to help set their car up. Is there any value in that for you as well, that you can try things with a car in sim that, I don't know, maybe you don't have time or budget to do it to track, but it can point you in a direction?
Yeah, so on car setup, if I was to go back, I would have definitely spent more time understanding the mechanics of the car, not in terms of every single, nut and bolt on the car, but in terms of when you change this setup on the car, like this setting, for example, the anti-roll bar, which is on road cars as well, changes how much, when you turn the car, how much it leans. Like, even just understanding, okay, if I switch that, it does X. Because then talking to an engineer, if they're saying, like, right, I'm going to switch this, I can then expect kind of what to feel. But and someone like Michael Schumacher was a real hard worker in that department, and look where it took him. So yeah, you don't have to know everything with car setup, but general knowledge of what each area does is important.
I don't know what to say.
It's all right.
Bamboozled by the technical jargon, but yeah, it's really important, isn't it? Of course, a racing driver has many different facets towards their skill set now. I think we spoke about this right at the top of the show. It's not just driving fast. But one final question from me, if I can. Anybody watching this one that's got aspirations to go motor racing, or no, rephrase it actually. If you could go back and talk to your younger self, apart from saying save more money and don't do it, what advice would you give to yourself?
Yeah. I would say focus on the process way more, enjoy the process more.
Nice.
Careful not to set too much expectation before it even happens. Just focus on the process, I'd say, and you'll learn a lot more by doing that and enjoying it more.
Yeah, agree.
Fabulous stuff. Well, on that bombshell, copying that one off Top Gear, all the brands are available. Well, I think that is about all we've got time for on episode 3. So, Jordan, thank you very much indeed. And Ashley as well, myself, Paul Jeffrey, and you people watching at home. See you all again for the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.